Data mine finding, parrying applies a damage taken debuff to the enemy. So, whoa, okay. So apparently, perfect parries are insanely valuable. Like, let's be real. If there's a debuff to the enemy who's, you know, when you perfect parry an enemy, if they get a debuff, essentially, there's no reason to use blocking weapons. This is actually, okay, this is interesting. Let's see what they're trying to say here. I stumbled upon this effect while randomly pouring through game files looking for how stuff works. Apparently, whenever you perfect parry an enemy, you apply a debuff to them that increases their damage taken by 50%, lasting 2.2 seconds. Holy cow. They even have the time measurement. Oh my god. 2.2 seconds for 50% more damage. When I found it, I was sure it'd be some relic of an early version that didn't make it into the game, but lo and behold, I went and tested it, and it indeed is present in the current game. Importantly, this is any perfect parry. Even if it doesn't trigger a gun strike, the debuff is still applied. I checked. This kind of has a pretty big implication for optimizing gameplay. Alright, well, for starters, this is really interesting. I like this. It's kind of cool that even melee attacks will be stronger. So potentially you can get you really can get a lot out of that. You don't even need to do the gun strike. In fact, even like doing a perfect parry into like a grenade. Okay, so all right, let's see how we optimize this. For one, this damage increase is presumably team-wide since it debuffs the enemy rather than buffing yourself. This means that it heavily incentivizes focusing fire whenever a teammate gets a parry. Basically, if you have someone in melee dueling Matrix enemies focus their target, they will melt. Okay, so you can parry the Hive Tyrant, right? I feel like we should have found this out even without data mining. Another is that it incentivizes a strategy where you need to maximize your damage after getting a parry. It turns out gun strikes, the total animation of a gun strike including recovery compared to the damage it provides, make them not really that good for maximizing that damage output unless you have either a heavy pistol or a plasma pistol. Okay, but this is with the, like for example in lethal, gun strikes do more damage. Is that also being applied here? So assaults and bulwarks should be going for these gun strikes, but if you don't need that AoE stun effect, you're significantly better off just mag dumping into the enemy's face. Hey, heavy bolt rifle, there we go. Gun strikes then are really more of a defensive tool for most people. Oh, well, you also get armor back. You can start shooting basically immediately after a parry, which is why it tends to be better damage than gun striking. Okay, I do want to see, I bet you the comments will probably break this down, but yeah, you should get more damage out of a gun strike on lethal, at least, but maybe not. So if you can manage the multitasking of keeping track of the next incoming attack, you should be trying to get shots in between the hits of an enemy combo after getting a parry that doesn't lead to a gun strike. Okay. Something slightly annoying about all this is that successfully shooting without accidentally triggering a gun strike is actually kind of annoying. Oh yeah, that's true. I mean, I guess you would have to aim in, but you might still be able to gun strike. I don't know. Okay, look, I think this theory is really good. Obviously, they tested it. This is true. I need to, like, test this out in gameplay, land a perfect parry, see how hard it is to really aim in and get, like, a good bullet storm going. I don't have the exact mechanics of how to reliably do this down yet, but it seems like you need to essentially either start shooting a location not near their head, then drag up to your headshots without gun striking. Yeah, that kind of sounds like a headache. I would rather do the perfect parry, throw a grenade, gun strike, and then maybe mag dump. You get 2.2 seconds, so essentially if you get the gun strike out as fast as you can, you should be able to just follow up. Unless the gun strike, gets rid of the debuff. So, I don't know. I think this is actually pretty cool, because I'm definitely going to keep this in mind. Maybe wait until you can aim zoom to shoot, as it seems like aiming has some effect on whether a gun strike is triggered. The biggest optimization takeaway, though, is focus your fire. Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, you should be focusing your fire anyway. You know what I mean? Like, we've been talking about weapon nerfs and buffs for quite a bit, and I always point out that even if a weapon's bad, if you just focus an enemy, it's going to be good. If you see a teammate is melee dueling a major's enemy, focus your fire. You will get lightning fast kills by doing this. Everything else is a bit more advanced stuff that you should try to work in if you can manage it, but everyone should be able to focus their fire with your team. So I'm going to assume this mechanic is definitely intended as well, because if this was a bug, I feel like they would notice it. You know, the devs would notice it before us. Okay. Oh, there's an edit here. Some commenters have pointed out that this is exactly explicitly stated in the game at some point. I'm assuming this was at some point in the early campaign, and it just didn't sink into me at the time because I didn't know what was going on. Worth noting, though. So this is for anyone who missed that or needs a reminder. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, honestly, I didn't realize this either, to be honest. But I do think this strategy, you know, like the overall strategy of thinking, okay, so if you do a perfect parry, maybe try for a mag dump instead of a gun strike. I think at the very least we get onto this, which, you know, I like breaking down strategy for getting around lethal or tough operations. But yeah, either way, focus your fire is definitely a good start anyway, so just do that. But yeah, dude, if either way, this also comes down to the fact that fencing weapons are just super, super good. And I don't think this should be changed at all or nerfed or buffed or anything. But I do think this is another reminder as well that blocking weapons need some sort of a buff. But yeah, dude. Okay, let's see what people say about this. But yeah, I do like the overall strategic approach to this. As a block-only player, WTF, this is a baffling design choice if it's true. They already had a huge gap between the two because block weapons damage wasn't buffed enough to compensate for losing the benefits of parry. But to add to this, it almost makes it comical. I have no idea how they could look at block weapons and think they were even remotely comparable when you take this into account. Yeah, last time we talked about block weapons, I seen a few commenters. Oh, okay, first of all, he's a block-only player, which is weird. But I guess he's using the hammer and assault because apparently that, you know, does one shots to Majorus on the jetpack attack. But yeah, I saw some commenters last time when we talked about block weapons. See, they kind of thought that if you're able to block unblockable attacks, they kind of thought that was going to be OP. And I don't know. I would like to revisit that. If you think that would be OP for block weapons, let me know in the comments. But I genuinely can't think of sorry. I genuinely can't think of too many things to like to buff block weapons with that kind of like service their model, you know? Because they are supposed to block very well. Maybe a relic block weapon should be able to do that, something like that, you know? But who knows? Either way, let me know in the comments how you feel about block weapons at the moment. Yeah, but ammo conservation, though good to know if it's truly team-wide. Also, does the assault plus 50% damage perk on gun strikes shift the math here? Yeah, see, exactly. Like, does gun strike have a set base damage, or is it actually modifiable? Okay, so apparently we did some good gun strike data mining here, so yeah, let's go into that. I'm still not sure about how gun strikes work with damage modifiers. It's a really obscured system. I'm not particularly good at data mining, and it's impossible to test because gun strike damage doesn't in the post mission screen, unfortunately. I've heard a bunch of random stuff about what things do and don't affect gun strikes. Okay, so yeah, he says a lot about gun strikes here. According to some spreadsheet compiled by some other data miners, both gun type and rarity does apply, but I've heard a few times that damage perks and headshot modifiers and stuff don't. But other times I've heard they do, so that's harder to say. Okay, apparently gun strikes are really hard to figure out. As for damage type, heavy bolt pistol does about 50% more gunshot damage than the regular bolt pistol. So yeah, definitely use heavy bolt pistol for your gun strikes. And plasma pistol does a bit over double. So here's one of the spreadsheets. Okay. I factored the assault perk into my suggestion about gun striking. Okay, there we go. For most people, it's still not worth it, assuming other damage modifiers don't apply. Oh wow. Okay, that's sad. This is such a weirdly structured game when it comes to breaking down damage and like certain mechanics and stuff like blocking and fencing weapons, gun strikes. My in-game testing, gun striking takes 0.8 to 0.9 seconds to get the strike off and another 0.6 seconds before you're able to act again, meaning it takes a total of 1.4 to 1.5 seconds to get its damage off before you can start doing other. Okay, so I did ask that question. It's like, how long does a gun strike take? So then yeah, you would barely have enough time to deal any extra damage. But yeah, I still think perfect parry, grenade, gun strike, that'll work. With a standard bolt pistol, that means with the assault perk buff, you're only getting max 90 damage, assuming this parry debuff even applies to the gun strike, taking 1.5 to 1.5 seconds, 1.4 to 1.5 seconds in those 1.4 to 1.5. With even middling performance gun like an Oculus Bolt Carbine, you can do at least 150 damage in that time off the top of my head. Okay, so you can do 150 damage with the Bolt Carbine, and a gun strike is maxing at 90? Are you kidding me? Is this... what? If other firearm-based buffs do affect gun strikes, though, that calculation does change to a reasonable degree. But that's if. And that's the one thing he's not able to find out via data mining. And it seems like other data miners can't even figure that out as well. That is... dude, what? Okay, we are going down a rabbit hole in this conversation. Let me know in the comments if you know anything about this gun striking damage formula, because I think this is actually super interesting. Gonna be negative Nancy, but I wish that this was gone and everybody just did more damage. Okay. I mean, that's fair. I mean, it's not even that negative. You're kind of taking one thing, taking it out, and replacing it, and I get it. Okay. I kind of like the debuff, though. I do like parries. Parries in this game are fun, but it's a shame blocking weapons don't, nearly get enough benefits. It's just bad that so much damage is reliant on parry. I wish parry was just a defensive action and more weight was shifted into the player's actions instead of just reactions. Well, here's the thing. I think reaction gameplay in this game specifically is super tuned up because no matter how aggressive you're going to play against Tyranids, there's going to be like 5 or 4, maybe even more, like a handful of Tyranids who are ultimately going to get the priority of attacking you because there's so many of them. No matter how aggressive you are, there's going to be a Tyranid around a corner who is going to jump into that fight and who's going to beat you at attacking you first. Like, basically, if you're not able to attack every Tyranid first, you definitely need some sort of defensive actions because of the mob. So I just feel like they, balance reaction gameplay in that sense so that players who are kind of paying attention to who's attacking them, they get, rewarded for that. I mean, you're literally going against mobs of these things. It's not nearly like it's not nearly as approachable as far as gameplay goes if you're just supposed to go into an army and just take them all out. That feels too, I don't know, it feels too samey. Like, it's something that mob games done before, and then you always just get a whole bunch of mobs that are just around one guy waiting to attack. And in this game, I feel like they don't do that nearly as often. Like, if you're going into a fight, a giant fight, there's going to be Tyranids who are going to beat you to the punch, and you definitely need to stay on your toes with that, because if you're playing too aggressive, or if you're not paying attention to, if you're supposed to parry a certain attack, because not every parryable attack gets the blue thing, then you're definitely going to get punished for that. Like, it is going to shred you. And then not only that, the thing that shredded you it can happen throughout the entire operation. So I don't know. I understand getting annoyed by there's too much defensive mechanics, but I think this game does it well because of how often you actually need to apply them. And then then you can do the aggressive stuff after you nail a parry or two. 5+ melee swings shouldn't be same damage as 1 parry gun strike. Okay, that's fair. And right at the end, yeah, I completely agree with that. That's fair. Yeah, melee needs like a maybe 20% buff or something for basic swings, I guess. But, we'll see. No, do not shoot my Maedrus. You will overshoot and kill it before I get the execution. I will lose out on a bar of armor and maybe also take damage now that I don't have the high frames I thought I was going to. I wouldn't have entered into a duel with the Maedrus if I couldn't take it by myself. Okay, so funny comment. However, just wanted to pinpoint this. Yeah, definitely pay attention to what's going on the battlefield. Look at your your teammates' health bars and all that. But yeah, I don't know. This was a nice conversation for sure. I didn't know this about the parry system. I did not know. Now that I do know, I'm definitely going to keep an eye on, certain enemies Mainly bosses. I want to see if you perfect parry a boss, you know, why would you gun strike them at that point? I would just try to avoid the gun strike and do the heavy bolt rifle or something like that, you know. More of a bullet storm rather than one attack. But hey, we'll see. We'll see. Let me know in the comments if you're able to pull this off. Perfect parry, avoid the gun strike, and then just mag dump. But hey, either way, thanks for watching.